Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's video out. And guys, today we're going to be talking about something we've touched on a little bit in the past, and that is, should you be armed and carry a weapon when you're bass fishing? This is a sort of a lot of people have pretty strong opinions on this one way or the other, but I'm going to sort of give you guys my opinion on this from somebody that has been in a bass boat for over 50 years and all over the country and some sketchy parts of the country. So I'm gonna let you guys know what I think about that and give you guys some tips and advice. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. There's one thing, guys, you can do to support Intuitive Angling. If you like the content here and you want to give something back for all the video information, just use and bookmark that Tackle Warehouse link that I have in every video description. If you guys can just mark that down, and anytime you guys need to order some tackle, use that link there. Great way to support the channel. Channel gets a small percentage of the commission on anything you buy there, so that's a good way to help out, and really appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Okay guys, one of the things about this is I've had a chance to fish all over the country, and I've seen potential dangers, and got a pretty good vibe on the safety or areas that are safe and not safe. And I'm going to tell you guys my opinion on this about whether you should be armed or not. And I'm going to sort of preface this a little bit as sort of a little bit of my background, how I got to this point. I was a criminal justice major in college, and I did my internship with the probation and parole department. So for a year, I rode around with the probation and parole officers, and we had a caseload of people we had to deal with. And guys, I can tell you right now, there are some sketchy dudes out there, to say the least. And also throughout the course of my life, I've had the opportunity to be close friends with a lot of people in the law enforcement community and the military community. So I've been around those type of people that deal with that, and I've had lots of conversations about them. So I got a pretty good grasp of, the whole situation with this. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to explain a little bit to this about, give you guys some tips and advice on how to avoid it. Is I do think it's a good idea to, have some type of self-protection in the boat with you, some type of a weapon. And a lot of people are comfortable with that. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. It's just something, your own personal preference. But in my situation, I'm not necessarily concerned about my own safety personally, but I am concerned about the safety of people with me. If I have my family with me, or if I have people on the water lesson or whatever. So I definitely want to be prepared. And that's one of the things about packing. If you're in a bass boat, it's all about just preparing for the worst, or expecting the best and preparing for the worst, that type of a thing. That being said, a couple different things I want to talk about here. There's a lot of different type of weapons that you can carry. I personally use a 9mm. I went to 9mm years ago with some of my Army Ranger buddies, suggesting that's the best self-defense, weapon to carry in a boat. So, but that's just up to you guys, whatever you feel comfortable with. But the main thing that I want to talk about in today's video is how to never put yourself in the position, or never get into the position where you'll ever have to use something like that. So much of staying out of trouble when you're dealing with potential bodily harm or life-threatening situations or whatever, I don't care if it's getting in a fight or whatever like that, is just being aware. You have got to be aware of your surroundings, and do not put yourself in a situation where you're going to potentially have some type of danger come upon you. And a lot of people are not self-aware. Some people are more than others. But when you're talking about when you're bass fishing and you're going through the whole process of that, or anything else in life with that, just be aware of your surroundings. If you have a typical day on the water where you get up early in the morning, you got to go to the convenience store to get some stuff for the day, and stop here, there, and then you got to go to a boat ramp. Don't put yourself in a position to ever be danger. So if you're in a, right, let's just start right off the bat. If you get up in the morning and you got to go to the convenience store to put gas in your boat and get some snacks or whatever like that, you guys know as well as I do, there's some sketchy dudes at gas stations, at convenience stores. Just be aware of it. Keep an eye out for around the corner, some dude always walking up to you wanting money or something like that. Just be aware of that, and that goes a long way. And it's the same thing with when you're driving to the lake. There's always those idiots out there, in the big jacked up pickups or whatever, that if they feel like they're inconvenienced that you're not driving fast enough, they'll goose it and throw out a bunch of diesel smoke and flip you off. Instead of returning that bird to them, or stopping them at the next light and asking them what the problem is, just realize that they could be having a bad day. They may not have grown up with the best mentoring, whatever it could be. But the thing about it is, don't put yourself in a position to be part of some type of a road rage. It's always better just to smile at them, wish them the best, whatever. Hopefully their day will get better, and hopefully they'll grow up someday and won't do that. Because a lot of those guys, here's the little thing about that road rage. There's a lot of people that feel sort of bulletproof when they're driving, and they think because they're in their car and there's something that happens at a stoplight or whatever, that they can flip people off or yell at somebody. Guys, don't ever think that somebody is not above stepping out of their truck, coming over to you and freaking blowing you away right there at the stoplight. Happens all the time. You never know, some dude could have just lost his wife, or, his wife found out his wife was cheating on him. He didn't got anything left to live for, and they're just looking for an excuse. So when you're dealing with stuff like that on the way to the lake, just, let it go. Don't let your ego go. It may hurt your ego that you can't ream some dude out or get on his ass or something when you're driving, but it's not worth it. It's more important to go home to your family at night than to satisfy your own ego. I know it's tempting. I've been in that position myself where, you just want to do something, but in the long picture, it's going to be better with that. Okay, now when you get to the lake, guys, be very careful about where you're launching at. There's a lot of sketchy boat ramps out there. I've been to a lot of sketchy boat ramps where you're out there, you go down this single lane road or whatever, or gravel road, and you get into some parking lot and you're the only boat there, or there's another boat there and there's not much around it, something like that. Try to avoid that at all costs. You never know when some dude's going to pop out of the woods or somebody's watching you. Anything like that, anything could possibly happen. And in my opinion, as far as when you're talking about the potential danger that you have as a bass angler to your own personal safety, why you should be armed, this is probably the number one thing, is those sketchy boat ramps. Sketchy boat ramps are an opportunity, for people to take advantage of that. And if you're a criminal, you're looking for that. If you're a criminal, you do not want to attract attention to yourself. You want to put yourself in a position where nobody's going to see you, and that is a prime example to do that. Now, if you're in a boat is probably one of the safest places to be in, because it's not like, other than the fact if there's some act of piracy on the ocean, it's going to be pretty rare for you ever to get into a situation where you have to defend yourself with a weapon on the water, unless something that just completely goes sideways, some dude on drugs or somebody drunk or something like that, which that's another aspect you got to realize, guys. A lot of these people that are going to potentially cause you harm are probably jacked up on something. That's one thing you have to remember, is that a lot of them are freaking meth heads. We have an unbelievably terrible meth problem in this country. We have for the past 20 years. So when you're dealing with people that are under the influence of drugs, they can't be treated like normal people. So always be aware with that. But actually being on the water is probably one of the safest places that you can be, because you can actually get away from them. And that's the main thing, guys. If you want to stay out of trouble, just remove yourself from the situation. If everything that you did as far as your awareness fails you, and you think you've been aware and you think that you've put yourself in a safe position, and then you find yourself in some potential confrontation, I don't care if it's some smart ass that's that trying to start a fight with you at the convenience store, or some guy that's trying to do something to inflict bodily harm with you, walk away or run away. Just get away from them. That's the main thing about it. Don't let your ego kill you. And that's the problem that a lot of people have. A lot of people have is their ego winds up killing them simply because they're going to make their point or whatever, and then things escalate. But the best thing that you can do, and that's one thing, if you hear some of the top, law enforcement people talk about that give advice on that's one of the top things that they tell you is remove yourself from the situation, walk away, run away, get away from it, whatever you can do. That will keep you from getting in trouble more than not. But from my opinion, from my experience, guys, I've traveled all over the country. I've traveled in some of the, like I said, the sketchiest parts of the country that you can ever imagine. Probably 40 different states, pulling my boat through cities, accidentally taking the wrong turn and, pulling up into some sketchy part of town. I can tell you so much of it is just, like I said, just don't put yourself in those situations, and it's not that difficult to do. And another thing with that is, like I said, don't let your ego write a check that you can't cash, because it happens all the time. I see it every single day in this town here, guys. I'll see people flipping other people off, and people getting mad at each other, and people getting mouthy at each other. And guys, they got no clue, man. They got absolutely no clue how the danger they're putting themselves in from their own ego and their own, ability not to get along with people. So that's the main thing, guys. It's just be prepared. I think it is a good, I'm not saying that you have to be armed to go bass fishing, because a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. And they say, well, if I have to carry a gun to go bass fishing, I'm just not going to go bass fishing. And I don't do it all the time either. I don't carry all the time. I do quite a bit of the time, but not all the time. Just depends on the situation I'm in with that. And it's just the reality of the world we live in. It's like the whole saying is, it's, better never have to use it and be prepared than not be prepared and, be a victim with that. But don't be a victim. That's one of the things out there. Learn how to take care of yourself, stay in shape, learn how to fight. If you know how to fight, you'll never probably get in a fight, because most people that really know how to fight do not get in fights. And it's the same with people that know how to use weapons and respect weapons. It's usually just the hotheads, the drug addicts, the people that are just a little bit mentally unstable. Those are usually the people that get in trouble with that. The prisons are full of them. And the main thing, guys, is don't put yourself in a position where you do something that you're going to wind up getting arrested, getting put in prison, just off of something that you could have easily been avoided. It happens every single day. There's tons of people, guys, in prison right now that really did not break any laws whatsoever, other than they tried to defend themselves and something went wrong, and the laws weren't on their side, that type of thing. And finally, pay close attention to what the state laws are as far as your ability to carry, whether it be concealed carry or open carry, or some laws are a lot more strict than others that do not allow weapons. So really pay close attention to the state laws before you take that upon yourself with that. Anyway, guys, just a few tips with that. Hope you guys never have to deal with that, and we'll talk later. See you.